is live as we discuss the impact of glacial degradation on the land of wood and water. So, as we align with UN's theme for this World Water Day, which is glacier preservation, we take a deep dive and look at the impact on Jamaica. So a little bit about the Water Resources Authority. The Water Resources Authority is Jamaica's hydrologic agency. And what do we do at the Water Resources Authority? We manage, allocate, and protect your freshwater resources. So today, we here in Jamaica, we've adopted the sub-theme for World Water Day, Impact of Glacial Degradation on Our Nation, and we're looking at the impact of ice melting on our freshwater resources. So today, I'm privileged to be joined by some experts in the field. So with me here today, we have Mrs. Safia Roden, Senior Environmental Officer at the Water Resources Authority, and Mr. Orlando Thomas, Environmental Officer, and they will be making their wonderful presentation on the impact of ice melting on Jamaica's water quality. Stay tuned, ask your question, and let's dive into this critical conversation. So at this time, I will be handing over to Miss Safia Roden.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. All right, we are going into glaciers and Jamaica, the impact of melting ice caps on Jamaica's water quality. Now, I am sure that many of you must be wondering, what does glaciers have to do with us here in the Caribbean? But we're going to find out tonight. The United Nations declared 2025 as the International Year of Glaciers Preservation, and this declaration brings into focus the effects of glacial degradation and its impacts globally. So let us see why the preservation of glaciers is important for the land of wood and water. But let's get a little background. What are glaciers and why are they important? They are large bodies of accumulated ice or snow that flows over land, and they regulate Earth's climate by reflecting solar radiation and influencing air currents and rainfall patterns. Did you know that 68.7% of Earth's freshwater resources are locked up in glaciers, making them the largest freshwater reservoir? And they're a vital source of water for major rivers in areas that don't receive much water, such as arid and semi-arid regions like the Andes of South America and the interior mountains of Asia. Now, these glacial-fed rivers are the source of water supply for drinking, agriculture, and other uses for living organisms. Now, here are some facts about glacial ice mass. If you look on the map, if you can see it clearly, you'll notice that the areas up north are the ones that have the highest rate of global ice mass loss. Now, the Antarctica and Greenland has the greatest proportion of glaciers, with 91% in Antarctica and 8% in Greenland, and less than 0.5% in North America, 0.2% in Asia, and less than 0.1% in South America, Europe, Africa, New Zealand, and Indonesia. In fact, glaciers exist on every continent except Australia. And the loss in glacial ice mass was approximately 9,625 gigatons globally between 1961 and 2016. I can tell you that is a lot of ice. Now, the Arctic, which is the area up north, glacial ice masses suffered the greatest loss, with Alaska having the highest loss of all, with 3,019 gigatons. Now, what is the problem of climate change and glacial melting? Now, climate change is causing the accelerated melting of glaciers, and the impacts of these changes are felt globally by drastic decline in sea ice. Over 335 billion tons of ice have been lost each year between 2006 to 2016. Sea level rise, glacial melting has increased levels to almost 1 millimeter per year, and this is the cause of approximately 30% of the sea level rise that we see globally. Now, when sea level rises, it has to go somewhere. And as sea level rises, it pushes denser salt water inland to our groundwater reserves. And herein is the problem: saline intrusion. Now, saline intrusion is a phenomenon when salt water moves into freshwater aquifers and rivers, and glacial melting contributes to this through sea level rise. Now, other natural and human-induced causes of saline intrusion include overpumping of aquifers. Now, our aquifers are those areas below the Earth's surface that will store our groundwater. Now, overpumping of our aquifers causes upconing of seawater and increases the rate of saline infiltration. And geological factors such as high aquifer permeability along the coastline also facilitates saline intrusion. And when you have lower stream flow, it results in an increase in the saline counterpressure from the sea interface that will cause wedges of saline water to move up the river channel and cause it to become a little more salty than it really should be. So there are things that can exacerbate the problem of saline intrusion, but it is a real problem that is stemming from glacial ice melting. But what does that mean in the Jamaican context? Because we are so far away, how can that really impact us? Does it really impact us? Well, we have done some studies, and Mr. Thomas will share.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Orlando Thomas, and I'm an environmental officer here at the Water Resources Authority. Today, my presentation will be on saline intrusion and Jamaica's water quality. Now, what is water quality, first and foremost? Water quality describes the condition of water, including its chemical, physical, and biological characteristics. It is the environmental health of a body of water resource. It is a standard of purity necessary to protect populations and aquatic environment. Why do we monitor water quality? Water quality is monitored for environmental health impact, to ensure that water resources are safe to use and not causing negative impact on health, for population risk, to identify types and sources of pollution, to track changes, to understand how clean water resources are changing over time. Monitoring water quality of our rivers and groundwater help us to ensure that the water resources can be used and help to protect and detect negative changes in water resources, including saline intrusion. Now, how does melting glaciers contribute to saline intrusion? Melting glaciers causes global sea level rise. This sea level rise pushes coastal water into our freshwater ecosystem, freshwater aquifers. Jamaica groundwater resources faces increased risk of saline intrusion due to this impact. While Jamaica doesn't have glaciers, it is still significantly affecting Jamaica, As glaciers melt, they add water to the ocean, causing sea levels to rise globally. This pushes the saline front further inland, causing freshwater aquifers to be polluted with seawater, saline water. Now, we will look at a few studies that was conducted by the Water Resources Authority that sought to track the impact of saline intrusion. The first study we look at is our Water Quality Atlas, and we have taken a parameter that is significant to saline intrusion, and that is chloride. Now, chloride is a very good indicator when it comes to saline intrusion. And if you're seeing the maps, you will realize that the areas closer to the coast shows the greatest impact with regards to chloride. And this is essentially because the areas to the closer to the coast are impacted by saline intrusion. The second parameter we look at from the atlas is sodium. And if you know anything about saline intrusion or salt water, it is mainly sodium and chloride. And similar to chloride, you'll see that the areas closer to the coast shows the greatest impact with respect to sodium. Areas further inland is not so deteriorated with respect to sodium. We'll now move into our baseline study, and this was conducted in Essex Valley, St. Elizabeth, where we assessed 17 sites, monitored to determine the impact of industrial, residential, and agricultural activities on water quality. Now, historical groundwater data implied threats to water quality, including saline intrusion, and so we were prompt to conduct this study. Now, the findings from this study, we realized that there was a significant pollutant threat. Agricultural, industrial, and domestic activities were the dominant threat to water quality. The water quality of the groundwater resources are still suitable to be used for irrigation, domestic, and industrial uses. However, saline intrusion and overpumping remains a dominant threat, resulting in the decline in water quality and level within this aquifer. Now, as we learned about how saline intrusion is impacting Jamaica, we are now putting forward our call for actions. The first one is that we reduce pollution of our water resources by transferring to renewable energy using wind, solar, and hydropower. We encourage rainwater harvesting to help to augment the need to abstract water from our groundwater systems and our surface water systems. We promote sustainable agriculture, and we ask that we maintain healthy forests to help mitigate against the threats of saline intrusion. In summary, melting glaciers have a significant impact on water quality. Our studies have highlighted that our duty as a country must be to put measures in place to reduce the risk and reduce activities that aggravates the situation. All Jamaicans have a right to sustainable access to clean water resources. I thank you.
So here you have it. So you've heard from our expert, the melting of glaciers has a real impact on the quality of Jamaica's water resources. And they've shared with you, they've given you the data, and we trust that you've learned something today. And as we observe World Water Day, you will take into account the actions that we've called you to take. And we're talking about protecting our environment, protecting our water resources. And remember, the water resources of Jamaica is here for you. And as we try to protect Jamaica's water resources, we depend on you. If you missed the live, don't be afraid to share your questions in the comment section. We will be monitoring so that we can answer any burning question that you have. Thank you so much for joining the Water Resources Authority. And this is a broadcast from Jamaica's Water Resources Authority. And remember, Jamaica's water, every drop precious.